Good evening to all the undead ghouls and monsters. We are your horror hosts for tonight's Last Rites. Welcome, undead ghouls and monsters. This is Last Rites, the horror scene podcast. On today's episode, we will be talking about origin stories. We'll touch base on Universal Monsters, the failed Dark Universe, the cult horror hit The Monster Squad, and we'll talk about Halloween kills and the Halloween timeline. So, you want to go ahead and start, or do you want me to start?
You start. Go ahead and start.
Okay. So, my intro to horror when I was a little kid, I can't actually remember or pinpoint it down like to what age it was, but I know it was somewhere between like maybe like 6 and 8. The first time I actually saw anything that was like not a comedy or like E.T. was Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. So that was my first introduction to the monsters themselves. And obviously it has some comedy because of Abbott and Costello, and then also had a little bit of that, that monster element because it had Frankenstein's monster, Dracula, the Wolfman. So watching those, I was just like really intrigued with those types of characters, and like, I don't know, for the longest time, like I wanted to be a vampire. Like every Halloween, I was pretty much a vampire. Like I just loved the whole wanting to dress up and have the whole to the nines of the outfit, from like the white shirt to that medallion that he wears like in some iterations.
Yeah, the cape.
Yeah, and the cape. Oh man, I love the cape. Something about fucking capes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like a superhero meets a crazy monster. So, and then like the next movie I saw like was probably about less than a year after that, and that was actually a real horror movie, and that was Halloween. I didn't see it in the theater, but I did see it on television, and for lackluster of scenes, because of how it was shot. It wasn't a traditional like bloody movie. It was very thriller like. So like that really got me. Like I, for the longest time as a little kid, I'd have nightmares like the boogeyman's gonna come get me.
Yeah. A lot of the scenes are very suggestive, right? So not exactly graphic, but just the suggestion of horror is what really get the imagination going.
Yeah, and I like that because everybody's obviously got their own imagination and their own, their own way of thinking of what's going to happen. So that's brilliant on John Carpenter for the way they wrote that, him and Deborah Hill, and just leaving it to your imagination, and everybody's own boogeyman and own way that, they see these like final deaths. There's like, oh man, that's crazy, like you can only imagine.
Yeah, putting yourself in that position, it was really easy with like suggestive, like all the scenes.
Yeah. So those are my two intros to horror. A little bit of comedy with some old school monsters, and then obviously Halloween. I'm a huge Halloween fan. If you know me, like you'll know all about that. Like I've even got like the Thorn tattooed on me from Halloween 6. So just a really big fan. But yeah, that's my intros. What about you, Ollin?
Mine's a bit similar. Incorporated a lot of the 1930s monster movies, a lot of the tropes from those movies and the classic scenes, but putting the comedy in it. I guess was like a good introduction to what the horror genre would later become in my life.
That's cool. Yeah.
After that, in my teens, I happened to watch Francis Ford Coppola's rendition of Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Oh man, don't even get me started on that. That is like hands down my favorite Dracula movie. Like I was so in love with that movie. It was just crazy.
Yeah, and watching it, I think I saw it when I was like maybe 12 or 13, which it's an R-rated movie, which it's not supposed to be for a kid that age.
Oh yeah, this especially like the scene with Lucy.
Yeah, especially that. And that pretty much set the tone to what my relationship with horror movies would be. Um, Having that like comedy background with like the really graphic uh, um, horror scenes um, really set the tone to the range by which I was able to watch the horror genre in general.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel you on that. Like, I like. I guess that's why a lot of people find like Nightmare on Elm Street, um, like to be one of their favorites because of the whole like the incorporation of comedy plus horror. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a traditional horror movie, but those one-liners that Freddy has in that movie,
Right.
it lightens the tone just enough for you not to be like, oh man, I'm gonna piss my pants because I'm so scared.
Right.
But to the point where you're just like, oh man, did you hear what Freddy said? And then boom, like someone's dead. You're just like,
Right. It would still give you nightmares, but
Yeah.
you enjoyed the entire trip.
yeah. You weren't so scared that you had to like cover your eyes, or you're like, oh, I gotta turn it off, or I gotta walk out of the theater.
Yeah. For me, Child's Play was one of those movies where like I got a lot of laughs out of, even if it wasn't supposed to be comedic.
Yeah, I think they were totally going for not comedic, but yeah, it's just the way it comes off, you know. Especially it's a little dull.
Yeah, yeah.
Right off the bat, you know, you're just like, I don't know if I'm scared.
Right, right. Somehow to this day, dolls creep me out. You know.
Oh man, yeah, you and a lot of people. Like, they even make commercials about it. I think it's like that the Geico commercial where the guy buys the house and they go up to the attic and
Oh,
he
yeah,
turns
there's-
he
there's
turns the light.
mannequins
Yeah,
and yeah.
And then he's like, nope,
Yeah.
no
gotta-
thanks.
Gotta get out of here.
Familiar with the Hammer movies?
No.
So those are like from like the 60s, 70s. Those had like John Carradine and
Oh wow. Okay.
Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
What's his name? I can't even think of his name now. He was in Star Wars. He played Tarkin. Peter Cushing had
Okay.
Peter Cushing in it too. So those three guys were like the main like guys from like the Hammer series, and just if you ever get a chance, those are very like I don't even know what the term is. Something. It's very kind of like on the sexual side, like the way they had their vamps, their female vampires, like all seductive looking, and obviously there was some nudity in those movies.
You mean like the exploitation type?
Yeah,
movies?
sexploitation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like the sexploitation for horror.
Yeah. Okay.
Specifically for them, for like the vampire movies and stuff. That's why. Why I think they were really big.
Especially with you mentioned the guy that plays Dracula in those movies, Christopher
Lee played Dracula.
Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
They really leaned in heavy into like the seduction part of the Dracula character, because you know I was a kid in the '80s, so like all the aforementioned Nightmare on Elm Street, Child's Play, Halloween, all of those were the horror movies I grew up with as a kid, and it wasn't until later in life that I delved into the 1930s like monster movies, and watching Bela Lugosi's Dracula after watching Bram Stoker's from Francis Ford Coppola, I noticed that the seduction part of the Dracula character was like a big thing.
Yeah. I think that's just part of his character. Like that's what he was like known for. It's the maybe not so much the seduction, but like the hypnotizing. You know, like
Yeah.
like he can keep you under his spell and do what he wants with you. The Dracula character is just so intriguing. Just crazy, like how many iterations of that character there are in different movies over the years. But yeah, I dove right into those movies, and obviously I didn't see Dracula with Francis Ford Coppola until it came out actually in the theater.
Yeah.
And when I saw it like coming out, I was like, I have to see this, because I love the original Dracula, and I was like, I want to see if this is just like the book or just like the movie
Yeah.
from before. So
Yeah, because a couple of movie really does the whole diary thing, right?
Yeah.
Which book is really just a series of diary entries, and he really did that. And the Bela Lugosi was, it's more like they're definitely character movies, those 1930s movies, but it was more like a jump scare, like the predecessor to like a jump scare type movie.
what about Wolfman? Have you seen anything on the Wolfman? Like, or are you like a fan of the Wolfman? Or
yeah, I remember the first Wolfman movie. The effects, the special effects on that movie is the first thing that jumps out at me. The way they did the transformation in the classic special effects, that was really
it reminded me a lot of like stop motion.
Yeah.
Like the way it was just like one. It's like it looks almost like one scene right after the other. It's just like boom, 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 as he's transforming.
He's transforming, the hair growing, the nails growing, all of that.
Yeah, and the actor Lon Chaney Jr. So it was, I think, did all the special effects himself.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, and he was like really like well known for that. And so that's, obviously having to do that yourself and then be back on camera.
Yeah.
To take those photographs. I'm not sure how their cameras worked back then. Like if they were able to do stop motion the way they did, or if they had to slow it down and like cut it, frame by frame. They're obviously probably just recording up to a certain point, and then they have to cut it, cut all the extra frames out. So.
Yeah, like that manual editing type thing.
Yeah. I'm the same way. That was my first iteration of the Wolfman. Just how cool it was, and the special effects definitely did grab me, and that really got me also interested in like the way special effects work. Because being young and naive, you just kind of think, man, how do they get that guy to look like that?
Yeah.
Obviously it's all makeup. Have you seen Mary Shelley's Frankenstein?
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
That one has that classic scene in front of the lake, right? With the little girl.
Yeah, where he comes out and the girl's not afraid of him.
Right.
Yeah.
The first time I saw that scene was in Mel Brooks, because Mel Brooks recreates that scene.
Oh,
and puts like a comedy spin to it. And then when I saw the original movie, where that scene comes from, it made me understand it at a deeper level, because I had already sort of thought about it with the Young Frankenstein, and how these movies they really portray the monster, but also the heart of the monster, and how these monsters are broken characters, but they have a story arc in which they can't really be redeemed, because if you fix them, then they're no longer a monster. So you can still see the humanity in the monster, which is very interesting, especially in Mary Shelley's.
It was just like the day and age of everybody, something that looks different, everybody's gonna hate on. See, like in the movie with the Frankenstein's monster, how obviously he was different from everybody else, and there's like this abomination, so they wanted to get rid of it, because it just it really teaches you a lesson, like even at a young age, like you can see that. That's what I like pretty much got from that movie. Like it wasn't frightening to me at all, or scary. It was just like one of those, like, I felt like I was watching something that I was like learning a lesson from. But I was so like enthralled with it at the same time too, because like obviously the makeup and everything for the character, he was just like way over the top, and it was so good. And then just like you see you see the character evolve from its creation to like that scene with the little girl, and moving forward all the way up to the end where the villagers are like trying to like burn down the house. And so, but it's crazy, like these type of movies, like you don't think that that's going to have some kind of like lesson to learn in it, but then it does, like really like underlined.
Yeah, the whole concept of Frankenstein's monster is a look, I think, into our psyches, our collective psyches as human beings.
Yeah, totally. What about The Mummy? I watched The Mummy, and that was probably the only like horror movie I was really bored with, because there was nothing real special about The Mummy other than like the whole like curse aspect of it. And
in my opinion, I think it was like one of the first like zombie movies ever made. Just like that concept of like the dead coming back to life. I didn't see it that way. Certainly, the Romero movies have a completely different take.
Yeah, I didn't even see the Romero movies until after I saw The Mummy, and so that never dawned upon me that it was like a zombie movie. Like that wasn't even on my radar. Like even that word, it wasn't until like someone had turned me on to Night of the Living Dead, when I was just like, oh shit, zombie.
Right. Especially because the zombies in the Romero movies are basically a complete mystery. The whole premise of it is you don't know why the dead are coming back to life. Whereas the Mummy, clearly it's like some sort of curse, or it's always some sort of supernatural thing that you clearly know sort of what you're doing.
Yeah. And then Creature, the Black Lagoon. To me, like, it was a cool story and a cool like concept on a creature, but to me it feels like it was a retelling of Frankenstein again.
Yeah.
It was like just another version, or a different reiteration of Frankenstein. Seen this story before.
Yeah. The full body suit on that character though, it's really cool. I do like the design.
Yeah, the design, the detail in it, like for that guy to wear, like I can imagine like how hot that had to been, like for all those days. Yeah, back in those days, like how hot he had to been in that, and then even get in the water, like I would be thinking, man, am I gonna drown?
Yeah, were these sets that they made, or like indoor sets? Or?
Yeah, some of them were sets, and I think the lake set. I don't think the lake was a set. I think the lagoon. I think that was an actual like water area that they went to. Like,
on site somewhere.
Yeah, they went on site somewhere. I could be wrong, but I think that's what I read. But everything else was on sets, so it was a cool concept. But like I said, to me, it was like a retelling of Frankenstein, like all over again.
Yeah, characters like the Swamp Thing, or what's this other character? It's like a trash guy. Like he's just made out of like old trash, and he also lives in like a swamp or something. The name escapes me right now, but I wonder if those characters.
The only thing I can think of is like the Toxic Avenger.
The Toxic Avenger.
That's what you're talking about?
That's what it is.
From Trauma.
Yeah. The similarities are there, I think, and I wonder if those are all just sort of iterations of the concept.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure they would be. Swamp Thing's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm sure that that's like their own versions. Like, oh, we can, make a better creature of the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
Except for he'll be in the swamp, and
right.
And then like Traumas is like from toxic pollution out of the sewers.
Yeah.
And so, what about Jekyll and Mr. Hyde?
That one was one of the more interesting ones for me. Again, the whole thing with the psychological aspects of it, and your just the way the human psyche works. I read somewhere that Stan Lee based his Hulk character heavily on this concept
Oh,
of
that's
the
interesting.
height, which I could totally.
Showing that everybody has a monster inside of them
Yeah.
that will come out. Some, you know, and his was I don't remember if it was a cocktail that he was drinking or if it was like,
I still remember it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was some sort of a scientific thing that he was working on.
yeah. So you know, it kind of like hits down on the person who drinks. You know, is kind of how I look at it. Is like, you know, you become a different person when you drink.
Yeah.
Especially when you drink too much, you know, you become that new person.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like how that movie portrays to me. You know, obviously his monster was buried inside, and his formula like that he drinks brings it out. So what about so those are the Universal monsters. And what about like Dark Universe? So Universal tried to reboot its monster world, its monster universe, with this new series, which I heard failed just because of like box office sales. But like the concepts that they had going were really good. They had, I can't even think of what his name is, but they started it with a Dracula movie. It was Dracula Untold.
Yeah.
And then they moved from that to The Mummy, and I think The Mummy is what really like kind of like screwed it over.
Was that the Tom Cruise one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, or at least that's what they say. Like I don't look at it as like it got screwed over, but basically like shut it down was the poor sales of that movie itself. Actors that were lined up for it. I think we were talking about that before we started recording. Coming films that they had was Bride of Frankenstein. They had An Invisible Man, which was going to be starring Johnny Depp, which was supposed to come out in 2020, but because of poor sales of The Mummy and the pandemic, everything got scrapped. A movie called Dark Army, Renfield, The Invisible Woman, and some movie called Monster Mash. And then Frankenstein, Little Monsters, Creature of the Black Lagoon, Van Helsing, The Wolfman, an actual Dracula, Phantom of the Opera, Hunchback of Notre Dame, The Invisible Man 2, and then they're going to do a Scorpion King.
Yeah.
So
The Rock's not gonna be back for that one.
yeah, I don't think The Rock was going to be back for that one.
The Invisible Man with Elizabeth Moss, not
Yeah, that was
part of
not.
that?
Yeah, that wasn't connected to Universal's
I see.
Dark Universe or even like Universal itself. That was its own separate. The weird thing about that is it was coming out supposedly at the same time
Yeah.
as this Invisible Man.
Yeah, that's what I totally thought. It was like.
Yeah, and a
part
lot of
it.
people thought that too, and it didn't pertain to any of the Universal like universe.
It's weird because I heard a lot of really good things about that. I personally haven't seen it, but the reviews were good.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either, but I heard really good things about it. You know, for a movie that's not connected to the universe itself either.
I have it queued up on HBO Max, so I'll probably be watching that this Halloween
Nice.
season.
Thought it was a great concept, calling it Dark Universe, and you know, rebooting the whole monster scene. You know, giving everybody kind of a fresh new perspective on their old takes, and I mean, from the names also that I've read off, it sounded like they were trying to go a little crazy. Like they should have just kept it simple with the main movies. Dracula Untold. That was it was basically the first of the. It's not even listed anymore under the Dark Universe. It was listed originally as the first Dark Universe movie that was to headline their new series, but the actor was Luke Evans. He portrayed the character very well, especially the type of the story that they told. It was like a whole fresh like retelling of how he becomes Dracula. So it's like his life before the vampire, how he becomes Dracula. So it's like his life before the vampire, and then what he does like afterwards. You know, you kind of it's like a prequel, if you know, more or less. And then whether or not he was actually going to continue, that actor was going to continue, you know, in the upcoming Dracula production that they had set for later on, because it looked like they had like at least a good 6 to 8 movies before, you know, an actual Dracula movie came out. So, and they've had like several TV shows also, like of Dracula come out. I think one was on NBC, and one is on, I think, it's like a BBC show.
Picture of Dracula Untold. It looks really interesting. It's Luke Evans wearing some sort of armor. So I'm guessing they're going back to the lore of Vlad the Impaler.
So yeah, so that's Dark Universe. Personally liked it. I thought it was a great concept. I really wish that it would continue, but it doesn't seem that way. There's a lot of people that kind of are like split down the middle, 50-50 from what I've seen on the internet. Some people thought it was a great idea also. Other people just thought it was stupid. And obviously with the movie sales for The Mummy, that could have been a Tom Cruise thing too.
Yeah.
Maybe they just thought that, you know, it was bullshit for him to be in that movie.
Right.
You know, I didn't think anything of The Mummy being a character, but as for like another action adventure movie, like for him, like this is like the new Mission Impossible.
Right. Yeah, I probably had too much of that. I would have loved to see Javier Bardem as a monster though.
Yeah.
He was a scary guy in No Control.
Oh
so
man, that movie.
He looking good.
Yeah, that movie, for not being a monster movie, like he was a monster. Like,
Yeah, totally.
like just the emotionless face that he had through the entire thing was just, oh man, like.
And he's a big guy, so like,
Yeah.
he would have totally pulled it off.
Yeah, that's Dark Universe. What about Monster Squad? When I was a kid, this was like my all-time favorite movie to see as a reboot, because obviously it had all the original monsters from the Universal Monsters. But to me, it was like Goonies meets the Universal Monsters, because you had these kids fighting these monsters, it's just, if you guys haven't seen Monster Squad, find a way to watch it. Like, this movie was awesome.
I think it's still on YouTube. You can just watch it for free.
Oh, nice.
On YouTube. Yeah, it was to this day my favorite iteration of the Wolfman. Definitely the narciest version of the Wolfman.
Yeah. Yeah, there's actually, I think, a website or a podcast or something like that called Wolfman's Got Nards.
Yeah.
And it's I think it's actually some of the actors that were from the movie that they host it, which is funny.
Yeah, to me, Monster Squad was kind of like the culmination of that universe, right? I think it was like your Avengers movie before the MCU came up with the concept of putting together like all these franchises together.
Yeah, because you had the two kids that were friends in the same grade, and then they meet up with the older boy, you know, who's this badass character because he wears the jacket and smokes a cigarette and wears the shades, and like he's all intrigued in monsters too, like to a point, I guess. It's more along the lines of like, can he check out the kid's, you know, older sister? But you know, he hangs out with them and, you know, gets involved. So, you know, it's like a bunch of kids coming together and, you know, fighting for one cause.
Yeah, and to me, it's like they even bring back the little girl from the original Frankenstein movie, right? The little girl in Monster Squad was one of the bravest characters in the whole group.
Oh yeah, because they in that movie too, they reshot that entire scene with the lake.
Yeah, she's the one that makes the rapport with the monster.
Yeah.
And actually, the monster sort of becomes at the end kind of part of the gang, even.
And that's where it reminds me of Goonies because of Sloth. Like, you know, he's like a monster, and like they're afraid of him. But then him and Chunk get this rapport, you know, and they become friends. And then all of a sudden, he's like, "Wait a minute." He's all, you know, my mom and my brothers are bad, and so I don't want to help them anymore. You know? And that's how the Monster Squad reminded me of Goonies. Is that, Frankenstein's monster becomes friends with them, and then doesn't want to do bad things that Dracula's trying to make him do.
Right. And the funniest part was how the mummy was like sort of like Dracula's butler. Like the mummy would carry like a scepter or something, or things like that. Like he would do things for Dracula. It was like, wait, how does the mummy have the wherewithal to do all these other things?
Yeah, I liked it. It had a hint of comedy in the movie, but not too much. Like one of my favorite scenes was the younger kid telling his dad the mummy's in the closet. He's like, there's a monster in the closet, and his dad comes in and is like standing next to the closet and opens the door like parallel to him, so he can't see in, but he's showing the kid in the closet, and the kid's like covering his eyes. And he's like, "Ooh, scary monster!"
Yeah.
And you see the mummy in there, and then he like, closes the door on it, and he's like, "Go back to bed."
Doesn't see that the monster is actually in the closet.
Yeah, and then the next scene you see it like crawling out the window.
Yeah.
Like he's that agile, like all of a sudden to climb out the window. Definitely like one of my favorite movies. As a young, I guess I wasn't that young. I was probably closer to like being a teenager, probably like 10, 11, something like that, when I watched it. But yeah, that was like my favorite movie of movies with monsters and non-monsters and comedy mixed in. Not so much comedy, but I guess it would be more of like an adventure movie.
Yeah, it's an adventure.
Yeah, definitely closer to an adventure movie.
Yeah, that movie was like pretty much a rotation every Halloween season on one TV channel or another, right?
Yeah, gotten a copy of it, and like that was like my most cherished prized possession.
Yeah.
And I lent it out to one of my neighbors, and I don't know if she did something to the tape or the VCR ate the tape or what, but she brought it back to me, and like it was all like spooled out and messed up, and like I was like, and it wasn't until I was working at this movie CD store that I was able to buy another copy of it, but I had to wait for like their 20th anniversary when they put it out on DVD and Blu-ray.
Yeah.
So I bought the DVD, the special edition box, which was super cool. And I was like, as soon as I saw that, I was like a kid in a candy store again. I was like, oh.
Yeah,
I grabbed it and I ran to the counter and I told my manager, I'm like, I'm buying this. I don't care if it's the last one and somebody's throwing money at you. Like, I'll fight them for it.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those ones that you have to revisit. It'll bring you back, and it's also one of those ones that if you have kids, it's something really good to watch with your kids.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, there's like I think maybe one or two cuss words in there, but there's no graphic nudity. There's not really blood,
right?
Like per se. Like I think you can actually see it's still like one of those. Leave it up like Halloween, like leave it up to your imagination on certain scenes, like what happened or how the person got killed, and then it was very music driven. The music in it was very like set the tone for the movie on certain things, because it had that really cool, weird, eerie like overtone that would play during Dracula's scenes, so you would know that he was the bad guy, and like he was really like mean business, like he was gonna take care of these kids, and
the classic smoke machine in the back, and yeah.
What we got next to talk about? Halloween Kills. So, like I said earlier, we were going to talk about Halloween Kills trailer, but by the time that we were able to do this podcast, the trailer is now the movie. The movie is actually out in theaters, and
on Peacock, apparently, if you want to watch it just
on
your TV.
Yeah. So on Peacock, I forgot about that. I guess that's what they're doing with a lot of movies now. So they're trying to slowly bring people back to the theaters, but they're also giving them the advantage for people who don't want to go out to the theaters.
Being able to stream at home. Yeah.
I don't know. I like the theater itself. I like the presence of the theater. I like the whole atmosphere, and I want to jump when everybody else jumps. I want to feel that reaction.
Yeah. So especially for something like Halloween Kills, you really need the that crowd reaction to like really get the full impression.
Yeah, totally. This is the continuance of Halloween 2018. Continued the Halloween story. They completely nixed out all the other films, and 2018 Halloween is basically the continuance of the 1978 John Carpenter's Halloween, and Halloween Kills is the continuance of the 2018 Halloween. Next year, this is actually a movie that was supposed to come out last year, but because of the pandemic, it got pushed back another year because they didn't want to do like what other companies were doing and just put it out on streaming. They wanted it to still be in the theater, which, you know, I respect that and I appreciate that. And then next year they have the third movie, because they did these as a trilogy. So next year will be Halloween Kills, also being released in October. But it's cool. Like I said in the beginning, I'm a huge Michael Myers fan, huge Halloween fan. But I was actually talking to Ollin, and we were both discussing about the Halloween timelines, like how many different timelines they have. Similar to like how the Marvel universe has like the multiverse. That's how they're trying to explain the Halloween verse, like to people. Like how it kind of rolls to different timelines. So there's all these different timelines that you can watch the movies if you don't want to watch them in sequence. These Halloween movies have you seen?
I've seen about half. So I saw obviously the first and the second one. I watched H2O when it came out. I saw it 2018, and I might have caught like either 3 or 4 on cable once or twice, but I think there was 3 that didn't really make sense to me, and I don't remember it very well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people had the same reaction, because when 3 came out, people were expecting to see Michael Myers, and then they see this movie about this like, you know, corporate company, the Silver Shamrock, like, and they're just like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, it was something about
where's
like
Michael Myers?
some mask that have like a microchip in it or something that like makes people's like head explode or something. I can't remember it, but it didn't have anything to do with Michael Myers, and I didn't understand why it was Halloween.
Yeah, I watched it all the way through, I think, for the first time, and I was just like, I didn't understand it. And then it wasn't until a buddy of mine told me, he's like, yeah, they tried to change the story, and that's when they got rid of Michael Myers, and they didn't want to continue with him, and they wanted everybody to think that Halloween 2 was the end of Michael Myers, and they wanted to do like not like an anthology, but they wanted to do something, you know, different, but still call it Halloween. You know, like have a movie thing out there with that title. But that obviously wasn't successful for them, because the Akkads, Mustafa Akkad, saw that it was, you know, people loved Michael Myers and they wanted him back. So he bought the rights from John Carpenter and created Halloween 4. And then moved forward from that. So, and then it wasn't up until like he died, and then his son took over. And his son is now currently working with Blumhouse, who did the 2018 and then the Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends movies. So, and you know, I'm not sure where the future lies for the franchise after that. Obviously, they still want to make more movies, but from what I heard is that this is the end of the Laurie Strode story. So there's going to be no more Laurie Strode after this series, whether she dies or, you know, walks away scot-free from it or whatnot. I'm not sure how they're wrapping it up. Obviously, I won't know until next year. But yeah, that's from what I've heard, is that you know, this storytelling of her and him is done after the third movie. So, you know, similar to like the other storylines, she was in it to a point, and then they stopped, and then they just continued on with new stories and things like that. So, and it's gonna be cool to see what direction they go, you know, with the story. And this timeline itself is the original Halloween, and then they completely nixed, like I said, all the other Halloween movies, and then they went straight to 2018, and then it's going to be Halloween Kills, then Halloween Ends. As for like the original timeline was Halloween 1, Halloween 2, 4, which is where Laurie Strode, spoiler alert, has a daughter named Jamie Lloyd, and that goes all the way into 6, and then that story ends. And then the next timeline that they have would be Halloween 1, Halloween 2, and then it goes Halloween H2O, and then Halloween Resurrection. So that's the one with Busta Rhymes.
Oh yeah.
That nobody likes to talk about. But the concept of that movie was kind of cool. That's where kind of like the digital age came into play. And they had the whole like the video camera setup where everybody was wearing the little headgear that had the video cameras on it. And like his, it's like it was him and what's her name? Tyra Banks, and they had the Dangertainment, I think was the name of their company that they had.
Yeah.
And it was like these kids like won a trip to the Myers house, and then on Halloween, and they get to walk around and, you know, see what kind of things are in the house and stuff like that. And then, you know, lo and behold, there's Michael. It's like, oh no. But I thought the concept of them being there with the little video headgear was kind of cool. And actually, like the way it's done, they could have had a stronger story written, in my opinion, and then maybe some better actors for some of the characters, and then especially that ending scene fight with Busta Rhymes and Michael Myers. I thought that was kind of whack.
Yeah, that POV style of filming was really popular in those days.
Yeah, I think Blair Witch was about that time.
Yeah,
and that was
Blair
a
Witch
huge
Project.
POV.
George A. Romero did his Diary of the Dead in sort of the same manner.
Oh, I never saw that one. That was POV also.
It was like POV with like a guy that was like trying to do like a documentary of some sort, and a lot of it was POV. Yeah.
Oh, similar to like Natural Born Killers.
Kind of like that, yeah. But you saw a lot of what the cameraman was seeing was through his lens,
Oh, okay.
basically. There was a movie, another zombie movie from Spain called REC, R-E-C.
Yeah.
That was exactly the same. So yeah, that style was very popular around those times.
And then the other the other timeline was the Rob Zombie timeline, and that just only had the reboot of Halloween and Halloween 2, and there was talks about him doing a third one, but that never really went anywhere. I think he went back to do his Devil's Rejects or the third movie. Those are the Halloween timelines. Like I said, I'm really stoked and excited to see Halloween Kills. I can't wait to check that out in the theaters. Get to share my reactions with everybody at the same time. But I don't think, did you answer me on what was your favorite one? Or I never asked that. I just asked you how many you saw.
Well, my favorite one's always going to be the first one.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be pretty much everybody's answer. My question is Jamie Lee Curtis pretty much done with the character? Because how many times was she in the franchise? Not counting these last two, I guess.
So, well, the last three of this trilogy, not including those, she was in Halloween, Halloween 2, H2O, and Resurrection.
Okay.
But she was only in the first, spoiler alert, she was only in the first like 5-10 minutes of the first one, or of the Resurrection. And she was in H2O. It was story driven around her. Obviously, you've seen it, so you know like what she did and what she had to do to stay away from Michael. So yeah, it's just the 4 movies it looks like, and then these last 3 make 7. So out of however many movies that is, what is that? That's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, not including the Rob Zombie one. So there's 11 film movies of Halloween that have her in 7 of them.
What do you think's gonna happen then with the character? Because also she's had in different timelines, even different kids, right?
Yeah.
There was Jamie Lloyd.
Yeah, so she had Jamie Lloyd, which was from 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah.
She's had John Tate, which is from H2O.
Yeah.
Not in Resurrection. I don't even think I even remember him being mentioned.
Whatever happened to him?
Yeah, he just disappeared.
Yeah, he's got a retcon down.
Yeah, basically. And then another daughter in the 2018.
Yeah.
And then this daughter has a daughter also, which makes it her granddaughter. So, yeah, it's weird, like the direction that they went, and then not even the same names. So it wasn't like, oh yeah, we should just bring the Jamie Lloyd character back, but no,
It's somebody else.
yeah, she's got a different name, like not even Lloyd.
Okay.
Greer. So Judy Greer plays her daughter, Karen. Yeah, so Karen's completely far away from Jamie. And then their granddaughter is Allison. And then they also, like, from the original Halloween movies, so one of the storylines was that Laurie was Michael's sister. So, like, in the original movie, she was just the babysitter that he was after. And then in part 2, they retconned that to say that, oh no, she was his actual sister, and, you know, taken away after he was, you know, locked up and yada yada yada, and now he's, like, you know, back to get her. And then they explained, like, the whole, like, or they gave an explanation in, like, 6 to why, like, he is that way, like why he was really after his family and stuff, with the whole, like, Curse of Thorn. So it's weird to see, like, all the different iterations of what Michael is and how he became what he was, and like what his motivation was for, you know, for his killing and for his, like, trying to find his family. And then, you know, then, like, with this 2018 one, they completely just wiped everything clean. They're like, nope, just starting over.
Doesn't have anything to do with the Samhain lore anymore.
Yeah. After 6, like in H2O, that was never brought up.
Yeah.
You know, and Resurrection was just a continuance of H2O. So that, I mean, and in the Rob Zombie movies, that was never brought up either.
Right. He's just like a psycho of some sort. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, but Rob Zombie did keep the original lore of, like, Laurie being his sister. You know, in his story.
Right.
So some people are very big fans of that. Some people aren't. You know, but they also made, like, Jamie Lloyd his niece, which was, like, heavily driven in 4, 5, and 6. You know, because obviously he was looking for his family, and then, like, 6, she gave birth to a boy, so he's obviously, like, his cult, you know, was trying to, you know, find the child so that they can pass on, like, his I guess entity, you know, to the child, so it would take over and move forward with it. And I guess that was, like, the whole real, like, main story of, like, what 6 was about, was to create a new Michael Myers. But then that's what they were trying to do in 4 when they had Jamie Lloyd, like, dressed up in the costume.
The clown suit.
Yeah. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. Yeah, so it's just, yeah, like I said, different iterations of you know, the story and how they, like, try and piece it together with different characters. You know, this is gonna be the new Michael, or she's gonna be the new Michael, and so it's weird, like the thinking of these people, like how they put these stories together. But, you know, I still liked it. It was entertaining. It was still Michael, so I was happy with it.
I'm just waiting to see what the kill count's gonna be on this new one.
Yeah, or how bloody it's gonna be.
Yeah. That's definitely, like, 2/3 of the fun.
So I also read Blumhouse and is it David Gordon Green, I think, is the director of the movies, are interested in possibly doing their own take on Halloween 3, the Season of the Witch.
Okay.
You know, but I don't know if they're gonna call it Halloween 3. I think they might just call it Season of the Witch. I don't know. I didn't really read very much into it. I just saw like a little synopsis as I was scrolling through some pages a couple days ago, and saw that, and I was like, oh, that's interesting.
It's gonna be like its own separate thing. Not
Yeah,
really
yeah,
adding it to the.
yeah. It wouldn't be during to like the Michael Myers saga, but it might be set in the same timeline. So, but again, I don't know. I didn't really read it very well. I just saw the headline and I saw a couple sentences of the paragraph, like, and then I just kind of moved on. It's like I was reading it and like it started like flashing in my head like what a horrible movie it was the first time I saw it, and I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But then thinking about it, like the past couple days, letting it just stew, I was just like, maybe they could do it justice, because I thought they did 2018 movie justice. So.
Well, the concept wasn't a bad concept. I think they were just using like a different lore of the Halloween history or like the history of the celebration of Halloween.
Yeah, I mean, if they would have not called it Halloween and just called it Seasons of the Witch, I think it would have been, I think it would have went over better,
Yeah.
But growing up, I had this like stigmata in my head about like, oh, this isn't a Michael Myers movie, especially after I watched it, and I was like, where was Michael?
Yeah.
Why wasn't he in this movie?
Yeah.
It was called Halloween.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
The characters are just like a staple of the franchise. So without them, then the franchise Halloween doesn't work. Well, I was watching the Halloween film, the trailer again for the 20th time. So if you remember Sheriff Brackett, he drove his 77 Dodge Monaco. I think I saw that in one of the initial scenes shown in the trailer where they're about to arrest Michael Myers. I'm wondering if they're gonna bring back that character, or if he's just gonna be in the background this time.
Oh yeah, I think I may have heard something about his character possibly coming back, but I don't remember if it was this movie or the next movie, or if it was just kind of like hearsay, like someone just saying and then someone agreeing, and but I thought I heard something about that, because they brought back Tommy Doyle, even though it's not the original actor. They have back the Lindsay Wallace character, who's actually played by the same actress that played her in the first Halloween.
We're talking about Anthony Michael Hall.
Yes, thank you. Anthony Michael Hall is playing Tommy Doyle.
Okay.
In this movie, which I thought was just weird. Like, why wouldn't they get the actual person? Because, like I said, they brought back Lindsay's character. And she is played Bill Richards. So she's on those
Real Housewives?
yes, Real Housewives of like Beverly Hills, or I think it's Beverly Hills. But yeah, she played the original Lindsay Wallace, and she's coming back for Halloween Kills. And so, but like I said, they brought back all these original characters. So yeah, I did read it right with the Brackett. So Sheriff Brackett that's probably, since you saw his truck, that's why he's in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so it's like, why wouldn't they just get the original Tommy Doyle, or ask Paul Rudd to come back?
Right.
He's probably busy making Ghostbusters Afterlife. So yeah, those are, I think, those are the reprisals. And then they have this guy, from what I read, he's like works on the set for movies and things like that, and they did some prosthetics. And I don't know if it's just for flashback scenes or what, but they're bringing back Dr. Loomis. And from what I saw in the pictures, the prosthetics and stuff like that, I mean, it doesn't look 100% like Donald Pleasance, but it's pretty close to like his character from '78.
They can always do some sort of deep fake or something.
Yeah, and then they've got guys, doing that stuff out now. And then his voice, it has to be. That's why I think it's a flashback of him, but they have somebody else doing his voice. So it's probably either like a voiceover or, something of a flashback nature. Is
probably Frank Caliendo is doing the voice.
This one is Colin Mahan is doing the voice.
Okay.
He actually did the voice in Halloween 2018. So I don't remember that. I think there was a voiceover part for Loomis. I don't know how I missed that. Now I gotta rewatch that.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how many Easter eggs from the films that were cut out of the timeline. For the really hardcore Halloween fans to maybe just to let them know, hey, we haven't forgotten about you, who actually liked, I don't know, Halloween 4 or whatever.
Yeah. What are the things that you catch in the trailer when you watch it for like the 20th time?
The scene where Michael Myers steals a car, very reminiscent to the scene was Halloween, the original Halloween, right? Where he steals a car to chase after.
That's yeah. That's
so he's doing something similar to that in the trailer, and I was like, okay, that's kind of a callback, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't know if it's the same scene you're talking about, but the scene in the original with the nurse Marion. She's another character that came back. So, spoiler alert, like in H2O, she was in the beginning of that movie, same nurse, and they killed her off in that movie. So, and like I said, they completely wiped the slate clean of that. So they're starting from, the '78 movie and moving on to now. So obviously her character didn't die. But yeah, she's in the car, and, Michael's on top of the car again and smashing the window and doing the crazy shit he did back in '78. Like I said, I'm not sure if that's the same scene you're talking about or not. But he's been in a couple different of the movies where he steals a car. Like, what was it? 5, he steals that Camaro.
Okay.
So if you haven't seen 5, there's a scene where he gets the Camaro. First time that you see Michael not wearing his actual Shatner mask.
Yeah.
And so it was like really cool actually, like to see the change up of that, and then actually see him really actually driving, opposed to like in Halloween itself, like you see that he has the station wagon, but you never really see him. You see the station wagon driving down the street when Brackett's daughter like yells at her and she's like, "Speed kills," and like he stops the car like in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
So like other than that, like you don't really get to see him drive anywhere. You just see like the car posted up somewhere, or like when Laurie's staring out the window and like she sees him standing on the passenger side of the car. And then like 5, you actually see him like peeling out in this Camaro and just like racing it down the street, getting crazy like with this chick in the car.
Another aspect that's interesting to watch is like a difference, since you mentioned he changed his mask. It's to see like a difference in the mask that they use in every movie and how it kind of changes throughout the timeline. Some of them are better than others, and the ones they're using on these newer movies are probably some of my favorite ones.
Yeah, they're definitely throwbacks to the original, and I actually like how they've kept them pretty close to the same. You know, obviously with the fire, spoiler alert, at the end of 2018, you know, the mask gets a little charred on one side, and I like how the mask still looks like that mask, but it has that char just on the right or on the left side of it, and yeah, the look of that mask itself is really cool, you know, opposed to like if you were to see like the mask from 4, the mask from 5, and especially the mask from H2O. Like all 3 of those masks were completely, and 6, like all 4 of those masks were just completely different. None of them looked like each other. None of them looked like the original. Even in part 2 was a weird version of the original, but it was the closest to the original. And then, but like 4 looked like that dime store like version, you know, that somebody had decided, I'm gonna make this Halloween mask and mass produce it and sell it, but it was like so really just like it was like a white mask with, you know, the holes cut out for the eyes and a slit for the mouth, and that was it. Like other than it being white, it didn't look like Michael Myers.
Definitely different quality as they changed between prop masters in each movie.
Yeah. It was like their own take on like, this is what the mask should have looked like, and it's like, man, the formula wasn't broke, so you shouldn't have fixed it. Like, or at least thought you were fixing it.
Yeah,
you should have just left it alone.
The mask in the first movie is totally scary.
Yeah, just the overall character to me is just is scary. You know, the whole like not talking and the grunting and stuff like that. Like when he was killing Lydia, like you can hear him like breathing really hard because like he's just so passionate about like what he's doing like at the moment, like when he's killing her, and yeah, it's freaky, you know, like how that is, you know, that messes with your psyche.
Yeah. He's just like an unstoppable force that basically nothing you can do is going to deter him from his objective.
Yeah.
That determination is what's really scary.
Yeah, and I think when Carpenter wrote him originally, he wasn't writing him as like to be this supernatural like person, and that was also like what the new direction with Blumhouse and Green was. They didn't want to see him as like a supernatural being. They wanted to see him still as, you know, this deranged, you know, psychotic person that just has been just waiting and plotting the entire time, you know, to have his chance. And you know, he had that reaction. I don't want to give it away, but you know, there was a scene in 2018 that if he was supernatural, it wouldn't have been a big deal for him, but because what happened to him, you can see his reaction to it, and like how he moves forward with it. He still kind of doesn't show prowess to pain, but he acknowledges that it's there. You know, he's not just walking it off like it never happened or it didn't exist. So that's one thing I liked about the whole new setup for this series, is that how he's not a supernatural character and he's still like a person, although he's like must be really hopped up on some shit like to be going through the stuff that he's going through, you know, like all that burning and stuff on that face. Obviously, like the inside of his face has to be like completely blistered. You know, a normal person would just be in pain, and he just walks out of that house like it shows in the trailer, and he's got that fireman's axe with the pick on it, you know, and he's like twirling it around like he's all right, I'm about to mow these guys down. So, you know, it's like no big thing that he caught fire for a bit.
Yeah, I think it serves attention a lot more if it's like a human being rather than some supernatural thing. It's a lot scarier when, you know, it could be something in the real world.
Yeah, and that's the scary thing, is that there's probably people out there like that we just don't hear about. So
yeah, and it speaks to again, the human psyche and what humans are actually capable of. And yeah, a lot of these supernatural things are scary, and um, they can really put fear on you. But knowing that actual people, are capable of horrible things is just a lot more impactful.
Yeah, yeah. I feel the same way. Like especially like with the actual real like serial killers, like that to me is way more scarier than
Totally.
totally. These things of fiction or nonfiction. But yeah, it's crazy the things that somebody would actually do, and like how their mind justifies it or thinks it's normal for them, or they have no remorse.
Right.
That's the thing. I think the thing is that they have no remorse over some things that they've done. It's like no big deal to them, and they're just like, I did it. That was it. It's like, man.
Well, I'm just really excited about watching the movie, and hopefully in the next couple of days I'll be able to watch it, and I'll have more to talk about once I've done that.
Okay. Yeah, me too. Hopefully, by our next podcast, we've both seen it, and then we can talk about it and see what everybody else thinks too. So yeah, that's it for our podcast, I guess. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. This has been Last Rites, the horror scene podcast. And again, remember to stay creepy, keep it spooky, from our grave to yours. These have been your Last Rites.